Today's learning goal is finding the surface area of a cone given the height. Just to refresh, the formula for surface area of a cone is pi times radius plus pi times radius times slant height, or surface area equals pi r squared plus pi r L. Remember, a cursive L stands for slant height. Now, our learning goal is finding surface area of a cone given the height. And you'll notice that in this formula, there's no height. There's slant height, but slant height and height are different. What that means is we're going to have to do an extra step and find the slant height before we can actually use this formula. So for example, let's look at this first example over here. This cone has a radius of 6 and a height of 8. I don't know the slant height, which is this slanted side here, so I'm going to call it C. Together, the radius, the height, and the slant height make a right triangle. So to find the missing slant height, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to make my radius a and my height b. So now we have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. I'm going to go ahead and multiply those. 6 squared, or 6 times 6, is 36. 8 squared, or 8 times 8, is 64. And that equals c squared. I'm going to add 36 and 64 together because they're on the same side of the equation. 36 plus 64 is 100. So now I'm at 100 equals c squared. And then I'm going to square root both of those to get rid of squared. Square root and squared cross off, leaving just c. And on this other side, the square root of 100 is 10. So that means my slant height is 10. So now I have all of the information that I need to use my formula. Radius is 6, slant height is 10, and the height I'm actually not going to use because there's no height in my original surface area formula. So I'm going to do surface area equals, for pi I'm using 3.14, and then times radius, plus pi, and again I'm using 3.14, times radius times the slant height. We do multiplication first. So when you do 3.14 times 6 times 6, that's going to give you 113.04. Plus, when I do 3.14 times 6 times 10, I get 188.4. To get the final surface area, I'm going to add those two together, and the surface area is going to be 301.44. Okay, let's move on to the second example. So again, in the second example, I'm given height, not slant height, so I'm going to need to find that. I'm going to name that C. And then in this example, I'm also not given r. I'm given the diameter. 3 is a diameter because it goes all the way across the circle. So I'm going to rewrite this triangle, and I'm just using half of the diameter, so half of 3 is 1.5, so the radius is 1.5. So now I can use this triangle, this right triangle with 1.5 and 2 and c, to try to find out what is the slant height. Because it's a right triangle, I can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is going to be the radius, which is 1.5. B is the height, which is 2. And I don't know c, which is my slant height. 1.5 squared is 2.25. 2 squared is 4. That equals c squared. Since 2.25 and 4 are on the same side of the equation, I'm going to go ahead and add them and get 6.25 equals c squared. Now to get rid of squared, we do square root. So we do the square root of 6.25, then we do the square root of c squared. Square root and squared cross off. The square root of 6.25 is 2.5. So I have 2.5 is c. So my slant height is 2.5. So now I know my radius is 1.5, my slant height is 2.5. Now I have the information I need to find surface area. So for surface area, we're going to do 3.14 times 1.5 times 1.5 plus 3.14 times 1.5 times 2.5. We're going to go ahead and multiply these out first. So I'm going to do 3.14 times 1.5 times 1.5. And when I do that, I get 7.065. So now I have surface area equals 7.065 plus, now I'm going to do 3.14 times 1.5 times 2.5. And I wind up with 11.775. Now I simply add those together to get the total surface area. So I do 7.065 plus 11.775, and I get 18.84. So the surface area of this cone is 18.84. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or sign up for tutoring. Have a wonderful day, everybody.